and search the historical site. To help in their hunt, the explorers
go for the battle.
taking along a pair of world-class divers.
Got two top divers that we knew, both cold water divers, living in Mexico with dry suits and plenty of experience. I've worked in British Columbia. I started off diving in the Maldives, Pacific Northwest, South Coast of England, Hawaii, Egypt, Thailand.
With the divers now aboard, the question is raised, what exactly are they looking for?
I think one of the misconceptions the general public sometimes have about shipwrecks is when they sink, they just go down upright and they're sitting on the bottom, perfectly preserved. Obviously that's not the case, particularly with a ship that's 500 years old.
What you hope to find is anything you can find at that point. In this case, it would probably be heavy metal objects like cannonballs, which they use for ballast. Perhaps the iron cages they carried for prisoners.
With everything in order, the team is ready to depart on a trip of a lifetime. The end of the world, the outback, the middle of nowhere. Choose your saying. They all fit for where the expedition
Come on, get on your knees.
Patagonia.
You were doing so good on your knees just a minute ago. Gosh.
15 hours by air, 4 by car, and a 3-mile walk over the rough Patagonian terrain are all part of the journey. Finally, 5,000 miles and 65 hours later, the team reaches the campsite. They are thrilled to find that the site offers them easy access to the water and seemingly worthy
Oh, get on your knees.
postcards.
We had an incredible, staggering view. We had an island in front of us that looked like a sculpture. And the cliffs were beautiful all the way down, so it was a beautiful spot to be in. It was well sheltered.
The most pleasant surprise is the weather.
So the weather was unbelievable. We'd been there before the same time of the year. The weather then was in the 40s, with the wind chill down in the 20s and 30s. Here we are in weather that's calm, it's sunny.
The day is bright for one expedition. It is cloudy for another 480 years earlier. With King Manuel's dismissal, Magellan now faces an unsure future. His dream of sailing west to the South Island seems unreachable. He begins the process of planning his next move. While plotting his future, Magellan is introduced to a mathematical madman with a passion for navigation.
Get on your knees, you were doing so good.
He was a nut, but he was a smart nut. He was highly respected for his educational background and expertise, and he was a competent mathematician. But he was also crazy, and he had a huge ego. He believed that no one knew as much as he did about anything.
Ele conhecia muito da astronomia e foi...
He knew a lot about astronomy, and he taught Magellan about the dimensions of the world.
Sabia sobre as dimensões.
So, he was one of the greatest influences toward Magellan's project.
O projeto de Fernão Magalhães.
The crazy mathematician and the composed sailor make for a navigational dream team. Together they begin to plan the voyage that will forever change the way people see the world. As they work out their ideas, the question still looms: who will finance any proposed voyage? Magellan knows there is only one obvious choice.
Spain, he knew, had also advanced greatly in exploration and in shipbuilding, and he knew, of course, that Spain was sending out explorers and mariners.
While they actively settle the New World, the Spanish have yet to see any profits from their work. The possibility of potential financial gains from the Spice Islands may be enough to entice the young King Charles of Spain to sponsor the voyage. By the fall of 1517, Magellan is ready to present his plan to King Charles. To do so, he is forced to leave behind his family, friends, and the country of his birth.
It must have been a terrible decision for him, because you have to realize that even minor nobility had a tremendous sense of pride and duty. It must have been agonizing for the general to renounce his Portuguese citizenship.
Determined. And this is the hallmark of the genius of so many people, that they will not take no for an answer.
With Portugal behind him, Magellan crosses the Spanish countryside and settles in Seville. Here he establishes business contacts with people interested in helping him in return for a piece of the potential profits. In February of 1518, Magellan and his party travel to Valladolid, Spain, and await an opportunity to meet with King Charles. They won't have to wait long. Shortly after meeting with the king's court, they are granted an audience with the king himself. The quick turnaround time may have something to do with a member of the court who sees a potential gain in Magellan's voyage.
Bishop Fonseca was Bishop of Burgos. He was, in other words, very close to the center of power. So Fonseca was in a position to help people, or not to help them, as he saw fit.
He was the one to whom the king turned.
Do your little pose, huh?
And this included
Yeah, do that pose. There you go.
It included the allocation of resources. And so he was critically important to anybody.
And in the case of Magellan, he smoothed the way for Magellan and his Portuguese partners to get an entree to see the new king.
But Fonseca's support comes at a price.
Bishop de Fonseca was a very sly, scheming, conniving man.
Bishop Fonseca was evidently a very good businessman in addition to everything else, and had grown wealthy in his office and by making some crucial investments. So we can assume, I think, that he hoped to profit financially.
It falls to the composed Magellan to make the presentation to King Charles. In a calm, systematic style, he lays out his plans for the voyage.
He didn't use fancy court language. I think he was refreshing to young Charles, who was surrounded by these courtiers who used all this flowery language and always beat around the bush, and then they talked about anything. I think the young king appreciated that.
Magellan doesn't wait long for the king's decision. The 18-year-old king and his court are quick sells.
His advisors probably saw the need to essentially find a way to extract some profit from all this exploration and colonization, which was not there. So essentially, it is imperative that they find a way to reach the East, because clearly so far the Americans have not produced essentially a great profit.
King Charles is so impressed with Magellan's presentation that he decides to financially sponsor the voyage by himself. For those who have hoped to profit from the expedition, this is a crushing announcement.
What astounded Paul Fonseca was that Charles V, without any reservation, gave full crown backing